I recognize the member from Timiskaming, Cochrane.
Thank you, Speaker. As always, it's an honour to be able to rise in this House and today speak on Bill 66. It's an act to protect and restore the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin. And we've heard a lot today about people who live close to the Great Lakes, and that's a good thing. But this act covers the whole basin, the whole drainage basin. That goes right up to the Great Riding of Timiskaming, Cochrane, where we have the Arctic watershed. And everything that goes south from the Arctic watershed ends up in the Great Lakes Basin. And that is millions of acres and thousands of farms. And farmers want to protect the environment. Farmers are one of the great stewards of the environment. And the OFA is actually here today. And they've raised some concerns with this bill. We support this bill. It's a good start. But we need more than words and promise of new regulations and promise of new monitoring programs and even a promise of a new council, the Guardians Council. They're all nice words. If you really want to improve the quality of the Great Lakes, which is all our goal, it's a goal for our current generation, it's a goal for our children, it's a legacy we need to leave our children. We need more than words in Toronto. Because all the partners who live around the Great Lakes and live in the Great Lakes Basin all have those goals. But they need more than words. They need actual programs. They need a partner in the government. And it's happened before. We've had in the farm community, we've had programs where we partnered with the Ministry of Natural Resources to plant trees in places that eroded easily. Those programs existed. When I was a farmer, I participated in those programs, and I actually worked with the MNR, and we planted trees and acres and acres and acres of erodible property. We did our part. And it was because we wanted to do our part. Just making regulations or creating new groups of people to talk about the issues isn't going to solve the problems we want to solve. We had a meeting today with the Great Lakes mayors, and they brought up issues, and one of them was very, he explained how farmers in his region were helping. And farmers want to help. And not just farmers, all the people in this province who are in the Great Lakes Basin want to improve the environment. But they need more from words from government. They need a partner. And often, this government is good at making bills that sound like they're going to do something and sound like this bill, an act to protect and restore the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin. If you really read this act, there's not one physical thing that's actually going to protect the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Basin in this act. Is there potential? Yes. That's why we're voting in favor. But is there one thing in this bill that is actually going to save one part of the Great Lakes? No. And that's something that hopefully this government will recognize and actually work together with the stakeholders. This government doesn't have a very good history of working with stakeholders, particularly in agriculture. If you look at the recent issue with neonicotinoid pesticides, the farm community wants to work with the government. The government has the ability to make a law. That's a majority government. That's their right. But they also have the duty to make sure that the regulations that they impose actually work in the area where they're supposed to work, in the field. And when you see a big segment of agriculture actually have to take the government to court to try and slow down the regulations so they can actually make them work, that's an example, Speaker, of a government that just wants to have a good press release to impress some of their stakeholders, but doesn't actually take the time to make sure that the regulations are actually going to work. And we need they have to take heed with this act as well. Take the time. We didn't take the time in the House because this was a programmed motion and it was rushed through. But I implore this government to take the time and actually work with the stakeholders to come up with programs that will actually physically reach the goals of protecting the Great Lakes, of which we are all so proud. Thank you, Speaker.